The member box I discovered my fiancé was secretly recording our most intimate moments for his subscribers. Now he's suing me for $3 million for destroying his collection, and the judge is forcing me to watch the videos with the entire jury present. The courtroom fell silent as I sat in a defendant's chair, my hands trembling slightly. Jake stood at the plaintiff's table, his attorney whispering something in his ear that made him smirk. That same smirk he'd flash when he'd surprise me with dinner, or when he'd playfully tug me back to bed on Sunday mornings. I couldn't believe this was happening. The judge cleared his throat. "Miss Harper, do you understand the charges against you? Destruction of property valued at $3 million, invasion of privacy, and intentional economic sabotage?" I nodded numbly. "Yes, Your Honor." For those unfamiliar with our new judicial process, the judge addressed the packed courtroom. "We'll be using the memory extraction protocol today. This will allow us to view relevant memories from both parties to establish the facts of the case." Dove. To the sensitive nature of the content, I've ordered a jury of women. Only the 12 jurors, all women around my age, watched me with expressions ranging from curiosity to sympathy. Jake's attorney stood. "Your Honor, my client is a well-respected content creator with over 5 million subscribers. Miss Harper maliciously destroyed years of his work content that was generating substantial income. We seek fair compensation for lost revenue and punitive damages." My attorney Emma squeezed my shoulder reassuringly before rising. "Your Honor, my client discovered that Mr. Walker had been recording intimate moments of their relationship without her knowledge or consent. These videos were being monetized and shared with paying subscribers on multiple platforms. Miss Harper's actions were a reasonable response to an extreme violation of privacy and trust." The judge nodded thoughtfully. "We'll proceed with the memory extraction, Miss Harper. Are you prepared to go first?" I wasn't, but I had nothing to hide. "Yes, Your Honor." A technician approached with what looked like a slim silver headband. "This will feel a bit strange," she said quietly. "Just relax and think about the events in question." The headband felt cool against my skin. A tingling sensation spread across my scalp as the device calibrated. The large screen behind the judge flickered to life. "Beginning memory extraction," the technician announced. The screen shifted to show my perspective of events as they had unfolded 3 months ago. I've been planning to surprise Jake by coming home early from my conference in Chicago. After 3 years together and 6 months of engagement, I still got butterflies thinking about seeing him after even a short time apart. Our apartment was quiet when I let myself in. Jake's carry-on suitcase stood by the door. He'd just returned from his own business trip the day before. I called his name, but there was no answer. He must have stepped out to dig groceries or coffee. Perfect. I could unpack and maybe set up a little welcome home surprise for him too. I wheeled my suitcase into our bedroom, smiling at the familiar scent of his cologne hanging in the air. Our bed was unmade typical Jake. His laptop sat open on his desk, screen dark in sleep mode. As I unpacked, I noticed something odd. The closet door was slightly ajar and there appeared to be a faint red light coming from inside. Curious, I pulled the door open wider. There, hidden behind Jake's winter coats, was a small camera. A recording light blinked steadily. My heart began to pound. Why would Jake have a hidden camera in our closet? I reached up and took it down, turning it over in my hands. It was an expensive model, small but high definition with a wide-angle lens. It was warm to the touch. It had been running for some time. With growing unease, I continued to search the room. I found another camera concealed in our bookshelf, pointed directly at our bed. A third was hidden in the bathroom, disguised as a phone charger. My hands were shaking now. I felt violated, confused, and increasingly angry. What was Jake doing with these? Was he paranoid about break-ins? But why hide them from me? I sat at his desk, the cameras lined up in front of me. Jake's laptop had gone to sleep, but it was still unlocked. I hesitated only a moment before moving the mouse to wake it. His browser was open to a page I didn't recognize. Jake the Explorer's private parcel. The page showed a grid of thumbnail videos with titles like Shower Cirrus number 17 and Bedroom Fun Part in April Aidens. My stomach turned as I clicked on one. The video showed me getting undressed in our bedroom, completely unaware I was being filmed. At the bottom of the screen, a chat box was filled with comments from subscribers. "Love this new angle, Jake. When will you post the shower scenes from your trip? Worth every penny of the subscription." I felt sick. I scrolled through the page, finding dozens more videos, all of me, all in our most intimate moments. Some were locked behind paywalls with prices ranging from $15 to $200 for exclusive content. The realization hit me like a physical blow. Jake, the man I trusted completely, the man I planned to marry, had been secretly recording me and selling the footage online. For how long? I checked the account. Creation date, 2 years and 7 months, almost the entirety of our relationship. I don't fully remember what happened next. The screen showed me grabbing all the cameras and throwing them against the wall, smashing them one by one. I was screaming, tears streaming down my face. I pulled out drawers, finding more devices, memory cards, external hard drives, more cameras. I destroyed everything I could find, then turned back to his laptop. I found his video folders and deleted everything, thousands of files. When a pop-up asked if I wanted to permanently delete these items, I clicked yes without hesitation. Then I saw the backup drives, 3 of them neatly labeled by year. I grabbed them all and took them to the kitchen sink. I turned on the water and held each one under the stream until I was sure they were ruined beyond recovery. As I stood there watching water pour over the last hard drive, I heard the front door open. "Olivia, you are home early." Jake's voice, once comforting, now sent a chill through me. I turned to face him, the ruined hard drive still in my hand. His expression shifted from surprise to shock as he took in the scene, me, red-faced and tearful, his expensive equipment destroyed. "What have you done?" he whispered, rushing forward to grab the dripping hard drive from my hands. "Do you have any idea what you've just destroyed?" "I know exactly what I've destroyed," I said, my voice steady despite my tears. "Your little business. How could you, Jake? How could you do this to me?" His face changed then from shock to something colder, more calculated. "You shouldn't have gone through my things, Liv." "Your things?" I was incredulous. "These are videos of Emmy. You've been recording me without my knowledge and selling the videos online." He shrugged, his expression hardening. "It's just content, Olivia. Do you know how much money these videos were making us? This was going to pay for our wedding, our house, everything we talked about." I pulled the engagement ring from my finger and placed it on the counter. "I am leaving, and I am going to make sure everyone knows what kind of person you really are." His hand shot out, gripping my wrist painfully. "You are not going anywhere. Those videos are my property. I own the copyright. Do you have any idea how much you've cost me? Years of work, millions in revenue gone." I wrenched my arm away. "Sue me then," I spat, not believing for a second he would actually do it. What judge would side with someone who had done something so invasive? His smile was cold. "I think I will." The memory faded from the screen, and I became aware of the courtroom again. Several of the jurors were wiping tears from their eyes. One woman was glaring at Jake with undisguised hatred. The judge turned to Jake. "Mr. Walker, are you prepared to share your memories of these events?" evidence? Jake nodded confidently. Ressa, Your Honor, I have nothing to hide. The technician fitted the headband onto Jake, and soon his memories began to play on the screen. From Jake's perspective, I saw myself entering our apartment. I watched as he noticed me finding the cameras as I discovered his laptop and the website. His memories matched mine in terms of events, but his internal narrative was very different. As he watched me destroy his equipment, his internal thoughts weren't of shame or regret. They were of fury at losing valuable assets. He calculated the financial loss with each item I broke. When he confronted me in the kitchen, he was already thinking about legal action, about how he could spin this to make himself the victim. His memory showed a conversation with his business partner afterward. She destroyed everything, Mark. All the Beffelite, the original files, everything. Jesus, Jake. That's what, $3 million in lifetime value down the drain at least. But I am going to get it back. She signed those motto release forms when we first moved in together, remember, buried in the apartment paperwork. She never reads the fine print. That's sketchy as hell, man, you know. Those wouldn't hold up. They don't have to. I just need to scare her. She'll settle. The memory extraction ended, and the courtroom erupted in murmurs. Jake looked uneasy, clearly not having expected that particular memory to be shared. The judge called for order. It seems there is more to this case than initially presented. Mr. Walker, did you intentionally hide motto release forms in apartment paperwork? Jake shifted uncomfortably. Your Honor, that's not relevant to the destruction of property charges. I'll decide what's relevant in my courtroom, the judge replied sharply. Miss Harper, did you knowingly sign any motto release forms? No, Your Honor. I would never consent to being recorded like that. The judge turned to the jury. Ladies, you've seen both parties' memories of the events. Are you prepared to render a verdict, or do you require additional testimony? The jury forewoman stood. Your Honor, we'd like to see the alleged model release forms. Jake's attorney whispered urgently to him, but Jake shook his head stubbornly. The forms are part of the property that was destroyed, Jake said. Emma rose quickly. Your Honor, if these forms existed, Mr. Walker's attorney would have presented them as evidence from the beginning. I move to dismiss all charges against my client. Objection, Jake's attorney called. The destruction of property is not in dispute. Miss Harper admitted to destroying equipment valued at over $3 million. The judge considered this overruled. However, I believe we need more context. Miss Harper, would you consent to sharing additional memories regarding your relationship with Mr. Walker? I hesitated. There were so many private moments between us, moments I had cherished, but I needed the jury to understand. Yes, Your Honor. The technician adjusted the headband, and once again my memories played on the screen. I was sitting across from Jake at the restaurant where we had our first date, nervous but excited. He was charming, attentive, asking me questions about my life and seeming genuinely interested in my answers. I feel like I've known you forever, he said, reaching across the table to take my hand. The scene shifted to our first apartment tour. Jake insisted on taking photos of every room so we can remember. This moment I saw myself giddy with love, signing the lease papers while Jake distracted me with kisses. Then came a series of small moments that had seemed insignificant at the time. Jake insisting that I use the shower first each morning while he finished some work emails. Jake rearranging our bedroom furniture for better feng shui, positioning the bed in clear view of the bookshelf where I now knew a camera had been hidden. Jake giving me luxurious bathrobes and lingerie as gifts, then suggesting I wear them around the apartment because you look so beautiful in them. The memory shifted to a conversation 6 months into our relationship. Have you ever thought about making content together? Jake asked casually as we lounged on the couch. What kind of content, you know, for social media couple stuff? It's good money if you build an audience. I laughed. I'm not exactly to read material, Jake. Are you kidding? You're gorgeous. People would love you. That's sweet, but no thanks. I like my privacy. I saw Jake's expression darken momentarily before he smiled and dropped the subject. More memories flashed by. Jake leaving for business trips that coincided with large withdrawals from what I now realized must have been his content subscription payments. Jake buying increasingly expensive camera equipment that he claimed was for his travel white hobby. A hobby that never seemed to produce any actual travel clear. The final memory was from the night before I left for my Chicago conference. We were lying in bed talking about our future. I can't wait to marry you, I told him, tracing his jawline with my finger. Just a few more months of saving and we'll have the wedding of your dreams, he promised. I don't need anything fancy, I just want you. He kissed me tenderly. You deserve everything, Liv, and I am going to give it to you, and I am going to give it to you. The memory faded and I felt tears sliding down my cheeks. That moment had been real for me. For Jake, it had been just another performance, another scene for his paying audience. The courtroom was silent. Even Jake seemed affected, staring at the blank screen with an unreadable expression. The judge spoke quietly. Mr. Walker, would you care to share any additional context? Jake conferred with his attorney, then nodded reluctantly. This time, Jake's memory showed him setting up the first hidden camera, careful to position it where I wouldn't notice. His excitement as he uploaded the first video and watched the view count rise. His elation when someone offered to pay for exclusive content. The memories revealed a man who had initially felt some guilt, but had quickly rationalized his actions. She's so beautiful it would be selfish not to share her with the world. This money will give us a better life together. What she doesn't know won't hurt her. One memory showed him on a video call with several subscribers, premium members who paid top dollar for personalized content. Can you get something with her in the shower? When are you going to convince her to do the real stuff? My wife would kill me if she knew how much I was paying for this. Worth every penny though. Jake laughed along with them. Patience, gentlemen, quality content takes time. The memory that followed was the most damning. Jake was speaking with another content creator at a private event. How do you get your girlfriend to agree to this? Jake snorted. She doesn't know. It's better that way, more authentic. Isn't that like super illegal? Only if you get caught. Besides, I'm careful. I own the apartment. I own the equipment. I own the copyright to all content created there. It's a gray area, legally speaking. But what if she finds out? Jake shrugged by. Then I'll have enough saved that it won't matter. Maybe I'll just come clean and offer her a cut. She'll be mad at first, but she loves me. She'll get over it. The memory extraction ended. Jake's attorney looked pale. The jury was visibly disgusted. The judge removed his glasses and rubbed the bridge of his nose. I've seen enough, jury. Are you prepared to render a verdict? The forewoman nodded. We are, Your Honor. And what say you? We find the defendant, Olivia Harper, not guilty on all charges. Furthermore, we recommend that criminal charges be filed against Jacob Walker for invasion of privacy, distribution of intimate content without consent, and fraud. The judge nodded in agreement. So ordered, Mr. Walker. You are hereby ordered to remain in the jurisdiction pending criminal investigation. Miss Harper, you are free to go. This court is adjourned. The gavel struck with finality and relief washed over me. As the courtroom began to empty, several jurors approached me, offering words of support and encouragement. You were so brave to come forward. I would have done exactly what you did. He deserves worse than just criminal charges. Emma hugged me tightly. It's over, Olivia. You won. I watched as Jake was surrounded by reporters, his perfect image crumbling in real time. For the first time since discovering his betrayal, I felt something other than pain or anger. I felt free as I left the courthouse. A young woman approached me hesitantly. Excuse me, Miss Harper. I just wanted to say thank you. I looked at her, confused. For what? She faltered, then straightened her shoulders. I think I might be in a similar situation. You check. Your case has given me the courage to investigate and to leave if I need to. I felt a lump form in my throat. Trust your instincts, I told her, and remember that you deserve privacy and respect. She nodded, her eyes bright with tears, and hurried away. The spring sunshine felt warm on my face as I walked down the courthouse steps. What Jake had done would always be a part of my story, but it wouldn't define me. I had stood up for myself, faced my betrayer in court, and reclaimed my narrative. I pulled out my phone and deleted the last photos of Jake and me together. It was time for a new chapter, one where I was the author of my own story, not just content in someone else's. 6 months later, I sat in a coffee shop, laptop open, as I worked on my book. After the trial, I'd been approached by a publisher interested in my story. What had started as a personal catharsis had evolved into a guidebook on digital privacy and recognizing the signs of exploitation in relationships. My phone buzzed with a news alert. Brejaking influencer Jacob Walker sentenced to 5 years for privacy violations and fraud. I set the phone down without opening the full article. Jake's fate no longer dictated my peace of mind. The bell above the door chimed, and I looked up to see my friend Tiz arriving for our weekly coffee date. She spotted me and waved, making her way through the crowded shop. Sorry I am late, she said, setting down her bag and signaling to the barista for her usual order. How's the writing going? Almost finished with the final chapter, I replied, turning my screen to show her. The publisher wants to fast-track it for release next month. That's amazing, Liv. So many women are going to benefit from your experience. I smiled, thinking of all the messages I'd received since going public with my story. Women who had found cameras in their homes. Women whose partners had shared intimate photos without permission. Women who had blamed themselves for someone else's violation of their trust. That's the hope, I said. If even one person recognizes the warning signs before it's too late, it will be worth it. Maya reached across the table and squeezed my hand. You know, when all this first happened, I was so worried about you. You seemed broken. But look at you now. I considered her words. The pain hadn't disappeared completely. I still had moments of vulnerability, still flinched sometimes when I saw a camera. But I was healing, conquering stronger, reclaiming my story. I'm broken, I admitted. But I am putting the pieces back together in a new way, a better way. Outside the window, the city hummed with life. People rushing to meetings, couples holding hands, friends laughing together, ordinary moments that deserve to remain private, precious. I closed my laptop and turned my full attention to my friend. This was the real content, worth creating genuine connections, authentic conversations, moments of true intimacy that weren't meant to be shared with the world. In the end, what Jake never understood was that some things are valuable precisely because they're not for sale.